Compassionate Mother, Episode 1. Hello, you are listening to the podcast Compassionate Mother. I am Safura Turkladani, and in this podcast, we will walk together on the path of personal growth, societal improvement, and ultimately the betterment of the entire universe with calm but determined steps. If you haven't yet listened to episode 0, I strongly recommend doing so to better understand the concepts and direction of this podcast. You asked me why the name Compassionate Mother. If I were to explain the reason behind this choice, I would start like this. At some point in our lives, we have all admired the admirable quality of maternal kindness found everywhere in the world, in all climates. A mother is someone who gives the same care to each of her children, regardless of their characteristics or differences. This benevolent presence, with no personal interest, gives everything she has to ensure the success and happiness of her children, with unmatched generosity and dedication. From their earliest days to adulthood, she envelops them with unconditional love. In this podcast, we will draw inspiration from someone who extends this care and love not only to her own children, but to the entire universe. We will adopt this vision and philosophy to guide our interactions with all human beings. This podcast is neither gender specific nor confined to a particular group of people. It excludes no one and does not insist on anything dogmatically. In the previous episode, we talked about the life model of the Sacred Mother, agreeing to advance together in understanding and practicing her personal qualities, behaviors, and thoughts. One essential characteristic that we will discuss in this podcast is altruism, a fundamental quality of the Sacred Mother. But what is altruism? Simply put, it is prioritizing others over oneself and one's desires. Let me give you an example. On a hot summer day, you are in your car with the air conditioning on high, exhausted after a long day of work, heading home. Your family is waiting for you to join them for a party you were invited to last week, and you are already late. At that moment, you notice an old man by the roadside, flushed with heat, his face dripping with sweat. He looks at his torn plastic bags of fruit spilling onto the road in despair. What do you do? What's your priority? Yourself, your family, your appointment, or this man who needs help? Lately, our way of thinking has changed under the influence of the media and our surroundings. We often hear, "It's me that matters. I must achieve my goals, and I must use every opportunity and situation to get ahead." This mentality sometimes leads us to view the external world as merely a tool for our own interests, relegating friendship, family, and even the health of our society and environment to the background. But how far this way of thinking really take us? Does it help us progress? On the contrary, it imposes many sufferings and anxieties on us, burdens we have created for ourselves. Many of the worries and pains we experience result from the misinterpretation of our relationships, whether with ourselves or with others. It's therefore crucial to correct this mentality and adopt a fairer, more balanced behavior. These small changes, in the long run, will not only allow us to grow but also help us lead a more fulfilling life. So, what model should we adopt? What behavior can replace this way of thinking? This is where we draw inspiration from the example of the Sacred Mother. Regardless of where we live, our language, religion, or gender, her way of life can offer us benefits such as satisfaction, creativity, and spirituality. We all have in our minds a library of beliefs, whatever they may be. Every time we face a new situation, we unconsciously draw from this library, choosing one of these beliefs to act, decide, or judge accordingly. Think back to a recent situation where you made a decision or judgment based on your beliefs. How do you feel about it now? Satisfied? Discontented? Sad? This often depends on those beliefs, which sometimes need to be revised or adjusted. This process of revision does not mean we need to create new beliefs, but rather we need to discover those we have forgotten. All this brings us back to altruism, or what might be called sublimated selfishness. Whether we accept it or not, modern humans are fundamentally selfish. They evaluate everything through the lens of personal interest. But why? Because we define ourselves solely by our name, body, and physical identity. However, humans extend far beyond themselves. They grow through every encounter and every interaction. When we help someone, we actually fulfill a deep need within ourselves. It's not merely a selfless act, but a response to an inner need. This is why we often feel a sense of satisfaction or happiness after helping someone. Altruism, therefore, is not just a choice, it's a necessity, an essential component of a balanced and fulfilling life. This altruism can spread, influencing those around us and gradually the entire society. It can create a virtuous cycle of kindness and harmony. Does this concern only our inner world? No. This behavior and this benevolent relationship that arise within each of us are reflected in our actions and interactions. It influences the behavior of others, penetrates their minds, and spreads from person to person throughout society. We then enter a global cycle, a benevolent cycle that leads the world toward balance and harmony. Altruism can gently begin with you and me, growing into a great compassion that inspires all the people of the world to turn toward friendship and mutual benevolence. And I'm not just talking about us, humans. When you pay attention to plants, to animals, to everything around you, you are in fact paying attention to yourself. In this way, a reconciliation is established between us, humans, and nature. I know that even imagining it is captivating and soothing. In this episode, we talked about altruism, its importance, and its necessity. In the next episode, we will discuss how this quality, inspired by the example of the Sacred Mother, has manifested throughout her life. Thank you for listening to the first episode of the podcast Compassionate Mother. You can listen to this podcast on Castbox, Apple Podcasts, and other platforms. May kindness be with you.